Good morning. So what I want to share with you this morning is our experience to use the TIP OpenWiFi solution. We started this company, NetExperience, 3 of us in Canada, back in December 2019. We come from a Wi-Fi product background, but we wanted to do it differently this time. So we said, why don't we opt on this open source project and started. We're now 30 of us. We have about 10,000 access points in service. Just because of leveraging this ecosystem of open source, we've been able to get where we are today. And I just wanted to share a bit our technical journey and how it's possible to use these open source solutions to build new types of solutions. Again, just to summarize what Drew was explaining, OpenWiFi is all about disaggregation, splitting software from hardware. So the approach is taking a set of TIP OpenWiFi approved hardware vendors, basically white box, Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, 2x2, 4x4, wall plate, ceiling mount, outdoor, and come up with a scheme where you can actually run the exact same software on the access point and use open source to control all this software using a virtual controller. What we wanted to achieve is a common solution that would basically fit MDUs, SMBs, hotel, enterprises, smart cities. And the trick with this is to have a wide hardware portfolio. So if you're deploying this in an MDU, you probably want to use wall plates. But if you're doing like hotspots, maybe a mixture of outdoor access points or ceiling mount access points. And that was what we liked about this open approach. Pick and choose the access point for the specific verticals. Of course, because you're actually taking this access point from the actual hardware manufacturer, you end up with a lot of advantage in total cost of ownership. What we've measured so far is about 60% total cost reduction to run the actual network, just because you remove all this margin stacking that you usually see in the network. We spend a lot of time leveraging the open REST APIs. This morning, we all became experts in the REST APIs. We actually added tons of REST APIs, so you can actually control this all open source solution using APIs. All the settings, all the stats retrieval, but also all the event retrievals using REST API, allowing you to build your own application if you want to. Again, TIP OpenWiFi, the blue part is basically what is open and open source. So the way we started is we basically use the open source code available on GitHub, both for the access point and the reference design for the cloud controller. The reference design for the cloud controller gives you basically a basic controller allowing you to provision, retrieve stats from your access point. The access point open source software is pretty complete. It has everything you need to run your access point, latest drivers from Qualcomm, MediaTek, everything you need to be Wi-Fi Alliance compliant, but all open source. The power of this open Wi-Fi ecosystem is all the APIs are totally open. So what we did at NetExperience is we wanted to differentiate the market. We come with 18, 20, 25 years of Wi-Fi experience. So we have added a bunch of green stuff on our virtual controller, which we thought would be value added for the enterprise and service providers. So what we did is we leveraged the existing open source designs and source code, and we added a bunch of green functions, maybe better Wi-Fi controller algorithms for RM, for example. We added a bunch of analytics, root cause analysis software. Again, leveraging open source, but adding value on top of it using APIs. What we actually found, just like Drew was mentioning today, as we were deploying this, we of course found some issues in open source software. We resolved these issues and submitted them to open source. So if you're a new user of open source, you get the benefit of people like us testing this thing to death, deploying it in real life, and submitting to open source any fixes or performance improvements. And that's the power of community-based software. On the AP point of view, everything is OpenWRT based. We're fortunate to have the maintainer and the founders of OpenWRT as part of TIP OpenWiFi, which is great. It would have taken us, to be honest, years to come up to that level of competency, but we're a big community, and these guys are submitting code with us daily. Again, OpenWRT based, latest open source drivers from Qualcomm, MediaTek, and of course, running on latest Linux code. The advantage of using latest Linux code is all the latest QoS features that Linux has added, which is making this thing truly enterprise-grade ready. Again, TIP created this OpenWiFi uCentral agent, which basically sends telemetry and provisioning channel to the cloud controller. Again, full open source. And this thing is using WebSocket, as we discussed this morning, is a way through HTTP two-way gets to control this access point. So a very significant hardware portfolio. Today we have about 5 hardware vendors, part of TIP. Access point is just like a quick summary of them. Bunch of Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6. We actually got our first Wi-Fi 6E in service at a customer site some weeks ago. Again, indoor access point, outdoor, wall plate, 2x2, 4x4. Yeah, quite a rich portfolio, and more AP models coming to speed as more vendors participate to this TIP journey. Again, full open source. Just go on GitHub, Telecom Infra Project. If you're a software type like I am, you can clone these repos, compile the code, and go wild with it. Or if you prefer to get the fully compiled, fully tested artifacts from TIP OpenWiFi, become a TIP OpenWiFi member, all free, just need to register. Basically, you become a member, and then you get access to all the fully tested binaries. You can just download on your access point, TIP certified access point. You can download the controller on your laptop, on a server, and do your own testing. If you want to add your own application, again, you can use available REST APIs. Or if you're a software bunch of geeks like we are, you can actually take the source code and do your own controllers, leveraging the source code. So very wide variety of options to reuse the TIP OpenWiFi stack. We typically deploy this with access points on premise and the actual controller in a public cloud or on bare metal on site. All the virtual controller software is public cloud agnostic. It doesn't use anything from Amazon or Google Cloud. So you can deploy it on your laptop, on bare metal, on OpenStack, or on Amazon. Yeah, typical deployment, local breakout of tunneling going to the cloud controller. Every access point in TIP has a unique X509 certificates. So the WebSocket connection is fully encrypted and authenticated. And TIP itself is a CA agent for all these X509 DigiCert certificates. Yeah, we actually deployed a lot of open roaming network out there. Dealing with a service provider. Again, TIP OpenWiFi, fully passpoint, open roaming, RADSEC enabled. Again, using APIs, as we learned this morning, you can do customized dashboard, as you can see, do your own presentation layers, very flexible. If you have more technical questions, if you actually want to contribute to OpenWiFi yourself, if you have a good idea on the Wi-Fi features, like to work with me on this, just let me know and we'll make it happen together. Thank you.